Jeff and Jeremy in the Morning podcast brought to you commercial free by another podcast. You've subscribed to ours, now subscribe to theirs. It's the Slow County Real Estate Podcast with Hal Swayze. When you're done with this, go listen to something that will actually enrich your life. California DRE 011111911. A little bit of good news yesterday for people that want to move stuff around the state, and trucking companies and transport companies. Diesel, they rely on diesel to do so. And I've seen many billboards. And every time I see one of these billboards, it makes my skin crawl with rage because the billboards are is your company's trucks California compliant for this thing that was set to take effect, where diesel trucks had to have all these attachments on them, and eventually it wasn't going to matter because there was going to be a full-on diesel ban on trucks later on down the road. Well, yesterday, California abandoned the diesel truck ban and 3 other clean air rules. The reason for doing this was because they said that the new federal administration was unlikely to approve them, and the state of California had no choice but to abandon its groundbreaking rules for zero-emission trucks and cleaner locomotives. We wanted to talk to somebody in the diesel space, so I called Joe, or I texted Joe. Joe says, I'm really busy tomorrow morning, but I'll get one of our mechanics on with you at California Diesel and RV.
I got him on. Go ahead. Hey, bud.
Good morning.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So who are we talking to?
You're talking to Bud.
Bud?
You guys doing this morning?
Good. I thought it was Joe that answered. You're actually answering Joe's phone.
Yes, sir. This is Joe's answering service.
All right.
I'm a secretary and a truck mechanic.
Okay, so I want to know. So what we want to know this morning is, how does this pushback for business for you guys? I don't know how much of the trucks that are we're going to be affected is your guys' business. But what does it mean for you now that this diesel truck ban is no longer a ban?
Well, it helps. I mean, we're California Diesel and RV. RV's in there, but Diesel's the big name there. So, I mean, we work on all diesel engines. It doesn't matter if it's pumps. I'm framing one of Papage's heavy haul X15s, ginormous Cummins engines right now. We've got Duramaxes sitting next to me. All these pickups, they all have these emissions devices on them.
Yeah.
And ever since they went to this EGR law, where they want EGR valves and recirculating systems on this truck. You remember when you were a kid, you go down the street and you're following the school bus, that thing's blowing out all that smoke and everything.
Yeah.
It's horrible, right? You can't breathe and everything. Well, yes, that is horrible, and that needs to be cleaned up. However, taking it and pushing it back through the engine is not the greatest idea. You ever seen dirt go through an engine and the engine like it? Well, black soot like your chimney has or anything else, ash and soot, all it's going to do is plug these exhausts. You go down the 5 or you go down any of these big freeways and you see a semi pulled over on the side of the road, right? Broke down. 90% of the time it's because they had a check engine light because they have low coolant and their truck wouldn't do a regen. So now they're stuck on the side of the road with limited power because of this system that makes no sense. And now you have packages not getting there on time, medical supplies not getting there on time, and it's really costing the truckers hundreds of thousands of dollars. We know people that have trucks parked outside of California or who have taken their trucking companies out of California to the other side of the border because our laws are so strict over here they can't run. And they're only allowed to come over here and run for 60 miles at a time. So they go get one truck, bring it over, run it, and go back.
Jeez.
But if you have a Mexico license plate, you can run around all the time, and it doesn't matter. They don't flag you for that.
They don't even check your ID when you cross the border. Like, come on in. This is a government. This is a government law or rule that put in, and this is something to do with the electrical system in the trucks that you're talking about?
Well, it's actually to do with the mechanical system of the truck. It ties into both. It's mechanically closing and opening what's called an EGR, exhaust gas recirculating valve. So basically, it closes it and it pushes all the unburnt soot and everything back through the engine.
Right. But this sounds like something that would be in the computer of the truck, right? I mean, I understand what you're saying, but
So that's what's going through the engine. The computer is what's telling the engine to open and close those valves. So it's both systems basically working together.
And is this just something that's happening in California because of the California laws?
Mostly. Most other states, this isn't enforced. Let's use the Ford 6-liter, for example. Ford 6-liter pickup from, 2002 and a half to 2007 and a half, I believe it was.
Stand up on this, Jeff. 6-liter.
Horrible. They have a horrible name.
He drives a minivan, by the way, just so you know who you're talking to here.
I drive a minivan, so this is very over my head, but I will tell you this. I'm glad that you're bringing this up because I thought this just affected big rig drivers, but no, you're talking all diesel engines.
F-250, F-350, Chevy 2500.
What about heavy construction equipment? Like loaders and dozers and excavators. All these run on diesel, right?
Yep.
I mean, so these all are affected.
Yes, sir. And they are trying to put these systems on all these trucks. And I have friends that work on heavy equipment, and they complain, well, this thing's broke down again because it doesn't run hard enough to burn the catalyst off, or the catalyst just plug up because there's no way for them to keep up with how much dirty soot they're pushing back through the engine.
How much quicker would you go through catalytic converter? With this regulation that was put on it, than you would beforehand.
You wouldn't have a catalytic converter if that were the case. Then you wouldn't have to worry about it plugging up. You've got these trucks. So the truck that I'm speaking of, I've got friends out of state that have ran these trucks for hundreds of thousands of miles and not really had too many problems. I mean, all trucks have problems to be considered, but here in California, those trucks, you basically, there's a joke, 5,000 for 5,000 miles, basically, because the EGR systems put so much crap back through the engines and plug them up, or the EGR coolers fell, that you're literally paying out the nose, and people get to where they don't like any of these vehicles because the upkeep's so much, because the system just, it's not adequate enough to do what they're trying to do. And this even affects train locomotives, this law that they did as well. They're trying to make all locomotives coming through California to be completely emissions free and everything too. You ain't going to do that with an engine that size.
Yeah,
EPA
the problem with
knows that. It's just not possible. You're going to ruin California's economy by keeping these regulations on these vehicles that keep our economy moving. That's why California is failing as a state, besides Newsom. That's causing these problems. We need to get back to where people are working and they can rely on their trucks to work, so we can try to pull California out of this hole.
Bud, there's a guy that's going to be put into the White House, but in 4 years, what are your plans? I'm not thinking president, but maybe governor,
transportation secretary.
Honestly, it kind of seems like Elon's coming after Newsom, and I'd vote for him to be
there. You go,
to be our governor. Because you know why Newsom's hair slicked back like that? It's where Jerry Brown used to pet him like a cat. And he sat in his lap, and when he trained him, these guys are sticking all the money in their pocket and wham, this and that, And no, we finally got a president in there that's probably going to straighten things out, because you know what? The United States is a business.
Yes,
we all want to live comfortably and be free, but let's be real.
Even California
business.
We got to get you a show on our AM talk station, Bud. Yeah. Bud at California Diesel and RV talking diesel with us. I have a question, okay?
Sometimes.
Listen, will you explain to me what DEF fluid is and why it's important and why we have to use
diesel exhaust fluid. DEF fluid is diesel exhaust fluid, and we don't need to use it, but your truck requires you to use it.
Right.
So basically, it's just a synthetic liquid that's kind of like a synthetic goat or pig urine with a urea in it that they force through these catalyst systems to heat them up above 2,000 degrees to bake everything off. And they spray this in the DEF fluid in there to break the particles off and help burn them off. Well, guess what? You ever follow one of these trucks that's doing a regen? You'd rather follow that school bus, that was putting that smoke out.
Okay, so I noticed the diesel pickups are quieter and they're emitting a lot less black soot.
Yeah,
and that's because of this DEF fluid and this system that you speak of.
Well, not necessarily. It does have a little bit to do with it. The fact that they bump the temperature up on the engine so they burn a little more efficient.
Yeah. Okay.
Fuels change that. And a lot of the trucks you see blowing black and stuff like that, they've either had that stuff removed or they've turned them up a little bit and stuff like that.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to know, all my buddies have diesel trucks, and the knock on diesels for me is now you got to buy DEF fluid all the time. And the thing is, if it runs out, your truck will only do like 25 miles an hour. It like puts a governor on it, so it can't go any faster. And
if you look and see, it doesn't matter if you're talking Ford, GM, Chrysler, or Dodge, Ram, whoever they are these days, whoever Daimler sold to or whatnot. All these trucks have DEF heater issues out the nose, all of them, because they all are made by the same company pretty much. They all have DEF fluid level sensor problems and DEF quality sensor problems, what's just funny is some of the Duramax have a DEF quality sensor problem, but they don't have a DEF quality sensor. The way they judge the quality is by the NOx coming out of the tailpipe, and you have multiple issues up the exhaust stream that can cause that same problem. So you have mechanics that are just flying around trying to troubleshoot these things, and it takes you in a circle because the system's not perfected, so there's no cut and clear answer on, okay, troubleshooting for this, troubleshooting for that. So customers come in and they're upset that they've got hours into their trucks for troubleshooting, and, you either do or you don't have an answer sometimes. And it's like, well, you have to go through all 40 of these pages. Well, sometimes those 40 pages will jump you over to another 30 pages that jump you back to the same 40 pages. And so you're chasing yourself in a circle, and you got a service writer going, what's taking so long? It used to take, 2 hours to troubleshoot something like this, and now we're 5.5, 7 hours into it, and they made it more complex, but the system's not refined enough, so it costs money all the way around. All the big trucks, the big trucking companies have lost thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, or went out of business because of the regulations that they're putting on them.
Jeez.
Well,
they need to burn cleaner.
I hope you guys have a big party at the end of the week to celebrate this.
I'm going to have a party at the end of the week as soon as the inauguration's done.
But it's been great talking to you. I learned a lot more about diesel than I ever knew, and I had no idea about all these regulations and programs that were forced on diesels. And so we appreciate you taking a few minutes with us. That's Bud at California Diesel and RV. Take care, buddy.
Thank you. You guys have a great day.
If I had a diesel truck, that's exactly where that guy right there.
I know.
I want that guy. Jeez, that was very informative.
I don't want to know anything about engines. I just want to drop it off and say, hey, dude.
Get Bud over here on this.
DEF, sure, whatever.
93.3 KCOC rocks. Jeff and Jeremy in the morning.
So what was your big takeaway from talking with Bud at California Diesel and RV based on moving forward, I guess?
Regulation has really hurt businesses in California. And I know there's regulation throughout the 50 states.
But some places it's a lot less cumbersome than it is here.
Yes, but the fact that these regulations are causing trucks to break down and they're on the side of the roads and they can't get their deliveries shipped, and that's not just hurting that business. It's hurting the business that sold the items. It's hurting the business that ordered the items that is now probably, can't move forward until they get their products. So it's just a long line of a mess because of more regulation. And I understand everything is meant with good intent. And I know the air quality in California, especially Southern California in the 80s, was horrible. But look at it today. I mean, you can actually, it's night and day from what it was. And I understand some regulation is good. But, you also you can't just say, well, we're going to do this and not actually look into what the repercussions of it might be.
I mean, it's almost as if, though,
and we found that out yesterday when they backed off on this banning diesel law in California.
The widely bloated and inefficient government of the state of California said, we're widely bloated and inefficient. What can we do to make moving goods across this expansive state as inefficient as our government is? And so they're like, okay, what we'll do is we'll F up diesel engines. We'll take the exhaust and pump the exhaust back into the engine, creating all kinds of problems. That'll grind it to a standstill. And then we won't look so bad for being inefficient, because so will moving goods across the state be inefficient.
Right. And the thing is, it's all diesel engines. And I think a lot of people don't realize when you think of diesel, you just think of a semi-truck. But you're also thinking of a lot of guys that drive these, these F-350s, 250s, these 1 tons and half ton or 3/4 ton trucks that are running diesel engines, and then how the heavy equipment that moves dirt, that builds houses, that does everything, generators that run backup systems for hospitals. I mean, they all run, for the most part, a lot of them do, on diesel. So it's a lot more than just a semi-truck that's passing through the state of California to transport goods.
Can you smell what the government's cooking? Writes, and he says he drives a diesel Jetta, Volkswagen. Would it have affected that as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Anything with a diesel engine, right?
And my parents used to have one of those. I'm surprised you still have one.
My dad drives
I thought
one.
they recalled all those. Maybe they recalled them and fixed them and sent them back out. I know my parents had one. It was a great car. There was nothing wrong with that. But remember when Volkswagen went through that big issue? I can't remember what it was now. It was like, 7-10 years ago.
Yeah, the Touareg, the death of the Touareg, if you remember.
Well, the Touareg and any of their diesel vehicles, they had to take them back.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Ben writes in, what about farm equipment? If it runs on diesel.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it runs on diesel. Yeah, they all have to have these regulations. So yeah, tractors, that run, equipment that bales hay, that picks berries or whatever,
I wonder if this will extend. We've talked about this. I think it's a little bit easier for me to understand because I understand the importance of landscaping over the importance of diesel engines. Although I recognize the importance of diesel engines because they bring me my goods and services. Effectively, but
what do you mean landscaping?
Well, Mike writes in and he says they're soon banning gas power equipment that I use. Mike is a landscaper, so I went and bought a new mower that was $2,400 for a mower. I'm commercial grade, I'm sure, and a new edger which was $1,100. So
must be battery powered.
They're already making it unaffordable to use gasoline. So he went and got it before the ban went into effect, but they just jacked up the prices on those, knowing that there was going to be a run on them because you had to buy them before a certain date. So once again, screwing over the little guy.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the long run, electric small engines is actually going to be a great thing, but to force people out of their livelihoods or to force some people into retirement.
Smooth transitions.
They can't afford to do it. That's what's kind of sad. But I guess, if you're going to move forward, there's going to be issues like this.
No, it's when you charge forward that you fall on your face. Like right now, I'm a basketball coach for first and second graders. And you ever see first and second graders push the ball up the court? They get the ball out in front of them, then they try to catch up with the ball, and then they're trying to still dribble the ball at the same time, and then they tumble and fall oftentimes. And that's what you do when you charge forward. Every once in a while you need to pull back, gain control of the ball, or in this case, gain control of these crazy moonshot policies that would be in a utopian world a good idea, but you have to figure out how to get from A to B before you go to A to Z.
Right.
Walk before you run. I don't know how many more cliches I could put through it, but they all apply here. That's a good one. Let's ease up on it. And let's figure out a way along the way.
A bold statement to say, well, in 10 years we're going to ban this,
right?
Ban that. That's like you're not. We're nowhere even close.
Trucking companies
to banning,
like Bud said. Trucking companies in the state have left. They're parking their trucks outside the state. They're parked in places like Nevada, Arizona, and Oregon, and they're waiting, and they could only bring their cars in or their trucks in 60 miles at a time. I mean that is not efficiency.
I love how Kyle wrote in. He says, I love how they say DEF fluid is supposed to be more environmentally friendly, but they give you a plastic container and a plastic funnel for it that you can't even recycle.
Here's this chemical. And
that's just from a regular guy that drives a diesel truck that has to buy this and has to go through this every day and looks at that big-ass container, because I've seen it, and go, I can't recycle this? This is ridiculous. What the hell?
I would test that theory with my recycling policy.
I love doing that.
Jeff and Jeremy in the morning on 93.3 KZOZ.
Things we didn't get to in hashtag form with Jeff and Jeremy in the morning.
Hashtag birthday out, out. This is something that I don't think we've done in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. I don't know. I'm sure at some point in time we said happy birthday to somebody, but Kyle, who only fishes stock ponds, he wanted to let us know that Ben Hansen, who was a winner in Save Your Season, who's actually brought you back into the thick of things in the
Yes, he's done well. He went 4 for 6.
Red Zone Challenge. He says it's his birthday today. And,
nice job, Ben.
And we need to wish Ben a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Ben. We'll give you a case of deaf fluid. I don't know. Is that too
My
much?
mom's birthday was yesterday, 71. And Charlene, my wife, wanted to get her this candle because she just recently fell and broke 5 ribs. She's okay, but it's like the toughest 110-pound, 5-foot nothing woman I've ever met in my life. She fell into a coffee table of glass. Lucky she didn't harpoon herself.
Jeez.
She didn't cut herself, thank God.
It's like
She
stuff
broke
you see in
fractured.
movies and TV
Let me say
shows.
fractured. They're not full-on bricks, but they're fractured. Still, she's 71 years of age.
So
So she gets her this candle,
yeah.
and it looks like the logo for Bath and Body Works. And it says back and body hurts on it. I go, she'll never get it. She'll never get it. So
Yeah,
she
she'll
calls
look at
me,
it.
Oh my God, I love this candle. I love Bath and Body Works. And I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, because you didn't have her readers on. And
That's true. She does have
And what
readers.
is she trying to do? Accelerate the process in this? I mean, does she want to? She wants to put fire on the table she's going to fall on next?
My mom is one of these people that are just prone to injuring themselves.
Yeah, I would not.
All the time.
I would not give her a candle as a. My daughter.
She thought it was a
we
funny
don't-
joke.
This
and
is funny.
it's,
We don't trust my daughter with flames. She's 11 and she's very 11-year-old girl right now. She's very spacey, thinking about 6 different things at once. All that stuff. Friends first, and being social and all that stuff. And she likes. My wife burns candles down in the kitchen pretty regularly. I would say probably 5 nights a week. She's burning candles. I mean, it's only when she forgets to light the candle that she doesn't burn the candle. And my daughter wanted to burn candles in her room. And we're like, no, that's not going to happen. This is going to be a problem.
Get her one of those Glade plug-it-in things. You put it in the wall and it plugs in and you put a little scent.
We don't want to give Mercury a reason to pull out of California.
My dad was so deathly afraid that we were going to burn down the house at Halloween with just jack-o'-lanterns sitting on our concrete steps outside that we weren't allowed to put candles in it. We had to put flashlights in it.
Yeah.
And back then, they
that
didn't
way,
have
too.
cool flashlights like they have
They don't
now.
flicker. They just stayed
They
on.
were the orange. Remember the reddish orange ones, the little white thing, and it just shined towards the top.
Yeah. That's not a good look, but it's still a safer look. My mother-in-law.
Nowadays, you can get those cool lanterns. They have a red flasher. You can put it in there. But anyways.
So my mother-in-law bought her this lamp, and what the lamp does is it's got a low grade. I don't know how to explain. You know those hot plates that you would have at your desk, and you could put your cup of coffee on it, and it would keep it warm, but it wouldn't shatter the porcelain on the cup of coffee. It's got that up underneath it, and then kind of a heat lamp that shines down on the candle.
Okay.
And it just melts it enough to where the scent comes off of it. That thing is amazing. I want to get those all around the house. And I think your insurance should cut you a deal if you have that, by the way, Mercury.
Here's the deal. They have those wax things, right? It's a wax heater or whatever. So it's a light bulb. It sits inside usually like a porcelain thing. You plug it in. It just gets hot.
Yeah.
And it heats enough just to melt the little wax cubes. And you can have whatever scent you want. Those have been around for at least a decade or two.
Well, that's incredible. That's great. She can put a big old candle on it, though. And it'll last forever.
Go to the dollar store. I bet you could find that. I mean, it's at least Walmart or Target. But, yeah. And
I've seen these before. They're little cubes.
Sticking her hands.
They look like little ice cubes of wax. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yes. I've used them forever.
This doesn't.
I like candles,
it's
though.
funny.
I do like candles, but when you're an adult and you have your own house that you're paying for, honey, then you can burn as many candles as you want. That's what you tell her.
Yes.
But until you're paying the mortgage, nope. I get to make that.
That's not the
deal.
mortgage I'm worried about. It's the insurance.
Yeah, exactly. Fire insurance, not a good time. Hashtag passive aggressive. Apparently, Sally Struthers, who all I know her from is Archie. All in the Family.
All in the Family. Yeah. Thank you.
As she got older, very young, very.
You don't remember
attractive.
Gilmore Girls?
Oh yes, that's right. That's right. She pumped up. Yeah, I do. That's where I know her from. Well, she's sitting around a table with Betty White. Apparently, they were doing some kind of casting for some game show. Betty White's there. And this is Sally Struthers, so I'll let her take it from there. It's pretty funny.
I didn't have such a great experience with her.
Really?
Very passive-aggressive woman.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So she said, I did not have a good experience with her.
I picked that up.
Yeah. We went to her house once to work on a pilot for a new game show. She asked her housekeeper to bring in a plate of whatever to us while we were all sitting and talking about what was working about the game show and what wasn't. And then the plate was set in the middle, and it was cookies, I think. So I reached for a cookie, and she said in front of everyone, "Oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you, dear. You don't need a cookie."
Oh my
Fat shaming in front of the rest of the people. And I thought,
Betty White was a
that's
bitch!
not nice.
So you know what's funny is my wife is like way into Golden Girls, and like, to the point where she knows about
she
like
has been forever,
behind the scenes type stuff about Golden Girls. So she'll watch Golden Girls, and she's never liked Betty White. And I was like, "Why? How can you not like Betty White? She's like the funniest one on here. She's the ditzy one. She always says really funny. The writers gave her good lines and everything." And she's like, because nobody else on the set liked her. She was a bitch to all of them. And apparently, like, they did not get along with Betty White. Despite their on-screen rapport. They all, Rue McClanahan, B. Arthur, what was her name? Something Getty? Estella Getty? What was her name?
Estella Getty, yeah. The oldest one, right? Yeah. Stella.
Estelle?
Yeah. She was actually the youngest one, but
Right.
she played the mom. That's really funny. So I did not know that about Betty White. See, if anybody else, you didn't know that.
Well, Sally
I guess you
Struthers
did know
found
that.
out.
Sally Struthers, hey, honey, I don't think you need that. That's so great. I mean,
the funny
horrible
thing-
too, but funny.
The funny thing about Betty White is I don't think she needed to work on the Golden Girls. She just did it because she liked it. Because she was married to Alan Ludden. He was a game show host for many years, like Password and all that stuff. He for many years, and he died pretty early. Like she went like for the last 40 years of her life as a widow, which is insane.
I bet she would have been a great stand-up comedian.
Who, Betty White?
Yeah.
I think so.
And maybe she
She's
did do a
funny.
little bit of stand-up. I don't know if she did or not. Probably, I don't think she actually went out and did shows. But
Deanne's writing in.
so funny.
She
I bet
says,
that would have just been pee your
not
pants.
true. They did all get along. I'm the hugest Golden Girl fan. And yes, they did. They hung out and had lunches together. They've all said that they did. Well,
Oh, well,
There's no-
she's calling your wife a liar.
there's no way we can check now, is there, Deanne?
Well, you get your wife on the phone. Sure, she's busy, but this isn't our fight to fight. I don't know. You don't know. This
I
is
don't know.
Something you just said your wife said.
Yeah.
I tend to believe your wife. I know that for as long as I've known you and your wife, you guys have
loves
been
Golden
together.
Girls. Still.
You've been, she talks about Golden Girls, and you've talked about Golden Girls. And I can't get through an episode, to be honest with you. I
it's
find
funny.
it so.
It was
I just
very
like,
cutting edge. For its time, it was very cutting edge. It was.
But when that show came out, I was 8 years old.
Yeah. I remember watching it with my grandparents and not getting half the jokes. And then when I rewatch it with my wife, I'm like, oh, that's what they were talking about. Very, like, it was old people, but it was like Three's Company.
I was watching it with my 80-plus-year-old great-grandma Mabel.
Well, she was laughing, wasn't she?
She probably was. I was
A
sitting
lot
there.
of the jokes are dirty. Hi, who's this?
This is Deanne.
Deanne, okay, set the record straight. Why? Where did you find out that Betty White was not a bitch to the other Golden Girls?
Okay, so there was one incident where supposedly she did call the C word.
The B word? The B word?
C word? I'm sorry.
C word.
There's no
There's
going
a
back
rumor-
after the C word.
Okay.
Okay? Like you can't sugarcoat that, okay?
But that's a rumor. That's just a rumor.
It's
that
just
she
a rumor,
did.
Jeff.
But Rue McClanahan later on, after Betty passed, after B passed away, she came out and said no. She goes, that was just a rumor, because Rue McClanahan was the one that got along with everybody on Maude, on Golden Girls. She was just
Rue the slut? Was she the slutty one?
Yeah. She was Blanche.
Okay,
Yeah,
Blanche.
but
Blanche,
she played. But her characters she played before that were all Betty White roles that Betty White played. She was actually supposed to play Rose's part, but they switched it because at the end, because Betty always played the slut. Can I say that? Sorry.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
Jeremy,
yeah.
Jeremy just said it,
That's
so you can say it too, yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's fine.
they-
I
but-
just
Talking about
they-
old people sluts.
Yeah,
This morning.
but they've said like they used to have like
Diesel engines.
what people
everything
didn't
old people.
Yeah. What people didn't realize was that they actually had like lunches together that people didn't know, and they actually did hang out. Because they always tried to make it out like B was the one that was that didn't want to get along with them.
But Deanne,
And-
let me ask you a question. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say you have a group of friends. Okay, you have a group of friends, and you find out, and there's four of you, and you find out through some whatever channels or whatever that somebody possibly may have called you the C word.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that? I mean, like, are you going
You
to?
know what? I love that show so much because I was actually like in my 20s when it came out,
Mm-hmm.
and for some reason I just started watching it, and I've watched it on and off all through
It's a
my
great
life.
show.
and
It's a
stuff.
great show.
It is, and I just always am like, I don't really want to think negative things about it because
See,
it
that's the
started
thing.
coming out-
You don't want your
Yeah, there's
fantasy.
the telltale right there.
Exactly. You don't want
that one there.
anything that can
that
debunk
one.
it. You're going to welcome with open
Yeah.
arms because you need to
And-
know that
and-
it was that they were friends.
Yeah, and what happened, I think, really was that I think what happened was Betty messed up a line when they were doing the run through, and then B made a mistake, and she said, and Betty made a joke and said, "Oh, look, well, B da da da," and then that's when she said that, supposedly. It was like
Well,
in a joke or
regardless,
whatever.
D, Sally
Yeah, I
Struthers was very offended by the fat
I
comment. that
know.
Betty
I
made,
did.
even though
I
that's
couldn't
funny.
believe that.
I know.
Yeah.
We'll believe it. You don't want to believe it, D, because you love her so much. Thanks for the call. Thank you, D. It's always good to talk to a fellow Golden Girls fan.
Dude, I want to D. I want to give you my wife's number, and you guys go to do a Golden Girls podcast.
You got to get into a chat or something. Get into a group chat with others.
Hashtag rest in peace. Since we're talking about old people this morning, Griffey fan just wrote in and he said Bob Euchre died. That's
Yes.
something that you had on your docket, but we got delayed by.
Last hour, we got something, I think, from Fox that said he died. Mr. Belvedere.
And
I was too young to know him as
and
a
color
sports
commentator
broadcaster.
for the Milwaukee
Yeah.
Brewers, which is
Yeah,
he's
but I
probably
was.
the best.
We were young kids.
Yeah.
I knew him more from Mr. Belvedere. But yes, he passed away. 90 years old. That's a good run. I'd like to make it. I think if I can still move around and do stuff to 90, that'd be a good number.
It's time to play Know the Show with Jeff and Jeremy in the morning. KZOZ.
All right, we got Chicago tickets. They're going to be at Vina Robles on September the 9th. Tickets on sale at 10 o'clock here, 15 minutes away if you have the link and passcode to get in before
Get it?
general sale tomorrow.
Oh,
So,
Santa Cruz Cindy just texted in Chicago.
Yeah,
right there.
Chicago, 805-543-3693. Just the word Chicago, that's it. We'll kick you back a link in that passcode. Win a pair right now if you know the show.
According to Bud at California Diesel and RV, why is Gavin Newsom's hair slicked back the way it is? Bud said there's a reason.
805-543-3693. If you know what Bud said, then you know the show. I know the show time.
You are a fan of Everybody Loves Raymond. Do you have the same thought go through your mind that how much So there was like 2 seasons where they used Jungle Love as the opening for Everybody Loves Raymond as like the theme song. Does it ever go through your mind now that streaming it comes into play, what kind of royalty checks Steve Miller gets from that alone? I bet you it's huge because people stream. People stream Everybody Loves Raymond.
Like they have to pay ASCAP fees?
Yeah, to use the song, right? I mean, the rights to use the song, they have to.
Every time that episode plays, it's on demand. So I don't know. There must be, maybe.
It's probably massive.
One of my favorite episodes when they're dancing in the living room
To that song, and that's why they used it.
Off Frank.
Yeah, during the power outage. The winter.
That and when Robert was with his friends and he goes to the club. And he has to
Robert dancing. Any episode with Robert dancing is awesome.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's great.
Okay, we say good morning to David in first for Know the Show today. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good. According to Bud at California Diesel and RV, why is Gavin Newsom's hair slicked back the way it is?
It's because he was on Jerry's lap getting pet cat.
Yeah, all right, try that again, man. You got so excited you cut your phone out.
He was cutting out a little bit, but go ahead and try it again.
So he was on Jerry Brown's lap getting petted like a kitty cat.
Yeah. And
yes.
And community note moderator would like to add on to that. He said he texted in the answer, which we have to call for these Know the Shows, and he says he used to sit and pet his hair back like a cat while training him on how to destroy California. So yeah, I mean you got it right.
Yeah, you're a winner. Congratulations. 2 tickets to see Chicago in September with us, all right?
Perfect.
All right, hold on the line.
That joke would hit so much better if Jerry Brown was the taller one of the two, right? Like Jerry Brown's a short little guy. Gavin Newsom seems tall. I don't know how tall he is, but he looks tall on camera. If their heights were reversed, you know what I mean? Because then you have the picture of this little guy sitting on this big guy's lap, but the big guy sitting on the little guy's lap, that's weird.
I don't think it was meant to be thought that deep, but that's fine.
It wasn't literal?
It wasn't.
It's not true? Bud did not speak the truth on that topic?
Text Chicago if you want to try to get these tickets today at 10 o'clock. That's Chicago to 805-543-3693. David's a winner. And tomorrow we'll be covering the 4 games in the Red Zone Challenge. We'll do that. Make sure you're with us at 7:20, sometime after 7:20, and we'll break down all 4 matchups. 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. I think I'm more excited about Washington, Detroit.
I'm not.
Than I am any other game.
Detroit's going to slay. But that's fine.
Yeah, but I don't know. The Redskins. They're there. The Commanders.
How dare you? You're going to get us canceled, Jeremy. I will say this.
All home teams are favorited, by the way, this weekend.
Way more than I'd ever thought I'd learn about diesel engines today and how California thinks that they make them run cleaner than they would in any other state. If you missed that, we do podcast the entire show every day, a little bit later on. If you're subscribed to us in your feed, it's brought to you by the folks at Team Swayze and the Slow County Real Estate Podcast. They talk about California regulation on there too, quite a bit. That information on how diesel engines, I found it fascinating. Actually, I had no idea that they were taking the exhaust and pumping it back into the engine.
Yeah, I didn't know.
It was a brilliant idea, right?
Real quick, update on our poll question brought to you by Justin Stearns at Assist Home Loans. The Beatles, Stones, and Led Zeppelin are some of the most influential bands of all time. What other rock acts should be in the discussion? And it looks like Metallica, 30%. Pink Floyd, well, let's go. Metallica, Queen, and U2 tied at 23%. Bowie at third or fourth, however you want to look at that, at 15%. And then Pink Floyd, Jimi Hendrix, Bob Dylan, and Aerosmith not getting a vote. The poll is not done. That's just where we sit right here in the third quarter. Get to KZOZ.com You have until about 2 o'clock today, then there's going to be a new poll there.
Jeff and Jeremy in the morning.
Jeff and Jeremy in the Morning podcast brought to you commercial free by another podcast. You've subscribed to ours, now subscribe to theirs. It's the Slow County Real Estate Podcast with Hal Swayze. When you're done with this, go listen to something that will actually enrich your life. California DRE 01111 911.